So we have a ride cymbal to give it a little bit of sizzle, and it's really that top end that fills out the break beat, right? When we kind of remove that, to me, it loses energy. So having that constant sort of sizzle on top of it, almost like a jazz drummer with their ride. And then the next thing, we have another break, which is the do. So we combine those together.
No, la Astra me ganó.
Then hot pants on top of it rather than using the think break all the time. And you'll see the pattern here is a little bit. They're trying to write sort of like an actual like bass guitar part, especially if you don't play the bass, like you really start to lose out on a lot of the nuances. You know, like a really common thing with bass guitar is to like, hold on, like it's not going to be plugged in. You're not going to get so lucky, but like with playing bass guitar, if we're going to do something, like it's really common to mute the string. Right, because the bass can also be like a percussion instrument. You know, like how you can slap. I'm not really a good bass player, but right, like just a concept of understanding like there's a rhythmic aspect to creating, like writing a bass line, and those muted notes are also put it together. So musically, they're kind of playing off of each other. They're sort of where you're into. Remember how I described in the chords we're creating syncopation?
Ya. Bueno, al menos cacho como el proceso que ella empieza siempre escribiendo como hace como, a ver cómo decirlo, es que todas las personas, bueno, todos hay como en 3 áreas en las que puedes empezar a escribir una canción. Entonces usualmente es como uno lo empieza así como a hacer melódicamente, hace como la melodía, como que la tararea, la piensa en su cabeza y después va y la escribe. Y basado en la melodía uno va haciendo el acompañamiento. Y esa es como la melodía principal. Y después uno hace como las contramelodías, hace como el contrapunto, todo eso. La otra cosa sería en hacerlo armónicamente, como lo está haciendo ella. Entonces ella está viendo como los cambios de acorde, así como en pasar de segunda a quinta a primera. Bueno, no está usando exactamente eso. Y la otra sería como verlo como de manera rítmica y de la parte rítmica por encima empezar a escribir como todo lo que es la... ¿Cómo se llama? Y, por ejemplo, está la parte en rítmica y por encima de la parte rítmica ir empezando como a improvisar lo que... Bueno, no improvisar, sino que en tener como... Decir, ya quiero que se mueva de esta manera como la música. Pero siempre va a estar basado como en el patrón, como en un patrón rítmico. Antes de que sea un patrón como más armónico. Entonces, claro, a mí cuando en lo que he notado yo prefiero hacer como cosas que sean como rítmicamente interesantes antes de que sean como melódicas o armónicamente interesantes. Entonces muchas veces termino como haciendo como cositas, pero no digo que algo armónico, algo melódico sea malo. Realmente me encanta, sino que no siento que tenga la capacidad o no siento que sea como bien productivo para mí hacerlo como en melódica o armónicamente. Así que eso, ¿en qué estamos? Ya se descargó el concierto. Eso, vamos, Chile. Tubidubidu. Sí, voy ahora igual estaba perdón, es que estaba revisando el stream de la Astra, estaba viendo como el chat, si nadie había hecho ninguna tonterita. Y claro, había cachado que que había ¿cómo decirlo? Había hay una competencia de speedruns. Bueno, no de speedrun, hay carreras de Celeste en donde la A Caroline Que están, claro, están haciendo, van a hacer una carrera de Celeste, del juego Celeste, así que si después lo quieren ir a ver, vayan al canal de la Caroline que está en, así que tiene un chochao. Bueno, aunque yo creo que como estamos todos en el mismo círculo, yo cacho que todos cachan que hay una carrera, así que, piolita.
in space when we actually kind of put it together with the bass line. So musically, they're kind of playing off of each other. They're sort of interweaving in between and back and forth. And creaky ass chair. So really what's going on here is we have pauses at the bass. Like, I think a lot of drum and bass people are too scared to have like a little bit of break. Like there always needs to be bass happening. Into this almost kind of like rock feel with a solo that I'm working on. I'm breaks this down a bit more too. Guitarist, I'm so bad. I really wish I didn't lose my passion for the guitar because I'd be so good right now 20 years into it. But anyways, here's my rough solo and everything going on later in the song. And we'll kind of break this down a bit more too.
Entonces, claro, termina siendo más o menos así.
So another little element we added is this nice little happens a bit later. So another little element we added is this nice little synth flourish. You hear all the time in new disco and everything. A lot of delay, a lot of reverb. Like if I wanted to, I could outline that F major 7 chord. I can highlight only certain chord tones, really mess around with it. But
Podría intentar hacer una canción así como muy cortita. Ahora mismo tengo muchas ganas de hacer una canción, pero no sé si vaya a terminar siendo buena.
generally it's like a little sparkle at the beginning. It gives it just sort of a vibe. So
Un momento, ¿qué carajo pasó?
Look, I know what you're thinking. No plugin can actually do the work for you. Trust me, I thought the same. But then I tried. Look, I know what you're thinking. They're not going to be free, but let's start with one that is. Have you ever heard a song and thought, damn, that kick is amazing. I wish there was just some way I could quickly isolate it because then I'd use it and drop it in my own song. Rare DSP drum clone. It can quickly and cleanly sample kicks for free. Now go hit that thumbs up if you didn't know about this. Without like
at my fingertips.
Hmm. 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 Y...
we're born to. So come on, let
one knob approach. But you could still control things like the speed, the knee, or what frequencies it will prioritize. So this one is a bit more beginner friendly, but it still sounds great.
Meh. No sé, no creo que pueda usar un plugin así porque siento que como que me va a quitar un poco de poder. Aunque claro, yo creo que sería mucho mejor, yo escribo pura wea. ¿Qué iba a hacer? Ah, sí que iba a revisar eso. Ay.
So then additionally, there's like this little sparkle. I'm gonna add more sound effects later, but that's all we got going there. But then we get into the guitar, which is kind of like, I'm probably gonna change this rhythm section here, but I'll just show you it in anyways. And ignore that dead note. I gotta fix my guitar. I'm horrible at setting up guitars, so my Telecaster is like a disaster with how it's set up. That's my goal for tomorrow. But anyways, you can hear like there's this like rhythm section and it's got a bit of swing to it. And in theory, like we put it with the bass and it kind of adds a bit more groove. So even if you don't play guitar, you can find guitar samples if you want to add them to it, and you can just sort of chop them up. But, you know, if we're thinking about playing guitar, I'm probably not going to have it on the amp. But generally, like if you're using samples or whatever, finding just like palm muting samples, really common in like funk guitar, like. But you know, standard sort of soul elements. So if you're looking for guitar, you know, it's a really common thing where they do some sort of like. But a very light touch, right? So even like with the guitar playing, you know, with the palm muted on the other guitar, it's a bit more heavy-handed, but you know, this is like a stronger or a much lighter sort of touch. And then you know the standard, not kind of like surfer, but whatever. So adding those elements, right? If you want to have something with a bit more of a soul vibe, you can find plenty of stuff on Splice or whatever. But if you do, really just try to think about like, how is this